Approach to Game Day brought to you by Final Approach Irrigation. I'm Colin Bester from Midday News. Down below me is Christopher Saul, the publisher of Midday News. We're on location in various spots around Northwest Florida, but it's a very important week of high school football playoff action as Choctaw goes on the road to St. Augustine for a chance to go to the state finals as they play in the 4A Region 1 final. All that and much more on another edition of Final Approach to Game Day.
I'm jamming, man, everyone. Because it's the last one, possibly, maybe. Who knows?
Maybe. It all depends. It all depends, really, on how Choctaw beats St. Augustine tonight. Because if that happens, we have another week, and you have another week with us. If that does not happen, we'll see you in August, I guess. Yeah, and which is kind of sad because that means football season is over. But hey, we still have basketball season. The Lady Eagles are killing it, by the way. We have baseball season coming up, and I know Niceville baseball is going to be killing it. South Walton baseball is going to be killing it. Destin Sharks have a World Series champion as their head coach, so there's a lot of storylines for high school sports going on. But that's in the future, Christopher. We have to talk about the now, and the now is it is crunch time for 3 local teams in Northwest Florida. The only one really remaining in our coverage area, in the Midday News coverage area that is Okaloosa, Walton County, is the Choctawhatchee Indians. They are a 8-point favorite going on the road to St. Augustine. It is a rematch of, 3 years, 4 years in a row we've seen this matchup, St. Augustine versus Choctaw. The right to go to the Final Four. This year it's going to be at Mr. Pitbull Stadium in the land of the
Mr. 305, Dolly.
Mr. Worldwide, checking in the room.
Mr. Worldwide.
But Choctaw is an 8-point favorite over St. Augustine. Choctaw, to get here, had a very tumultuous last week. They were down 20-7 up until at halftime last week against Columbia. That stout defense, a couple turnovers, and an impressive 90-ish yard drive by that Choctaw offense put them ahead of Columbia 27-20. They're facing a St. Augustine team that is probably one of the best teams in the state of Florida, probably has one of the best quarterbacks that we have seen tape on this year. I know Christopher saw that tape earlier this morning, but Christopher, going into this game, Choctaw versus St. Augustine, what do you think is going to be the difference maker for the Indians tonight?
Guys, I watched a lot of tape this morning, gathered around the breakfast table here at the Saul crib with friends, family, and then proceeded to ignore them and watch St. Augustine play a game from September, because that's what normal people do on vacation. Watched one person in particular. I'm going to just break it down by positions. Brenton James, this quarterback for St. Augustine, is the best quarterback I know I've seen all year. And he may be the best quarterback that I've seen in high school football in the last decade. This kid is fast. This kid is accurate. He can throw the ball if he needs to. He can really heave it down the field, but that's not what makes him the best to me. What makes him the best player at the quarterback position that I've probably seen in the last 10 years is his decision-making. The kid doesn't make stupid plays, and he makes other people's stupid decisions on his side of the ball okay. Watched him take a absolutely wild snap from the center, and instead of panicking, he threw it for a 7-yard pass. Just like little stuff like that. And it was like one of those passes where it didn't really matter. They made 7 yards. He had a pass there, and he had a throwaway option as well, right? Next play, he goes and runs the ball in for, I think, a 35-yard touchdown on a designed QB draw. Kid's fast. He's gazelle-like. He's got offers from Toledo, go Rockets, Cornell, and Bethune-Cookman here in Florida. I can't believe this guy doesn't have 35 offers, including from my SMU Mustangs. And frankly, it kind of annoys me that they haven't looked at this kid. Yeah, he's a little light, 6'4", 170 pounds. He's lanky, but you can go to the gym. I think he is truly a fantastic quarterback. They got two options at running back. Thought that they were both pretty good. They got like a scat back option. And their wide receiver core is okay. They use a lot of blocking backs, tight end kind of fullback hybrid that kind of sits off the side for the quarterback, gives them the option to roll out and pass. On the defensive side of the ball, they're advertised as kind of a, Choctaw sort of just as good as Choctaw on defense. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I don't know if I buy that, but they're pretty good. The defensive line is stout. I would give them kind of a B rating. BB plus, I think, is probably fair. B. Their middle linebacker core, though, is weak. They line up way off the ball. They give away slant passes all day long. I think that if Choctaw wants to win this game, that offense for the Indians is going to have to show up. They're going to have to actually throw the ball through that zone coverage. They're going to have to hit those back routes. And they're going to have to do it because that Choctaw secondary the St. Augustine secondary is probably one of the best secondaries I've seen this year as well. I really like St. Augustine's overall package, but not to say that Choctaw doesn't show up as well. Choctaw, I think, does have the best defense in the state for a single team. I stand by that, especially after watching the St. Augustine team play. I watched a Nice game just to kind of pick the closest one to see what they do situationally, because that's what I think is going to make the most sense going forward. But that offense for Choctaw can't be average. It's going to have to be really, really good in order to win this game.
Yeah, and that's a common criticism that I think most people have made against Choctaw this entire year is that defensively, while they are great defensively, and special teams, they are amazing on special teams, the offense can start very, very slow. We saw that against Columbia where they went down 13 points of the first half. That defense held strong and they allowed them to rally. But if there was a shootout possibility, I don't think Choctaw's good enough to, if they get into shootout, where they can prevail against St. Augustine. Offensively,
that's my biggest problem. But this is my biggest problem with Choctaw's offense is that Choctaw should have scored 3 times in the first quarter, and they scored once, right? They had 3 very good scoring opportunities, and I think that the guys on the call, our friend over at the radio station, Gareth Stearns, said hey, they had 3 really good opportunities to blow them out. They could have walked away from that one with 2-3 touchdown lead if the offense had done what it needed to do. They've shown flashes of brilliance, but they can't just run it between the tackles and then hope for a couple of good passes from Taman and then hope that he also gets loose. I don't think that this is going to work that well. I do think they are a little bit weak against quarterback run, St. Augustine is, but they're not going to be able to rely on that the whole game. You can't be a one-trick pony in this game. This is the Elite 8. There are no easy teams left.
Yeah. And I think one of the other things that this Choctaw offense struggles with is red zone offense. We saw this in Enterprise where they get down in scoring position and they just seem how they can't finish a drive. They have to settle for a field goal. You can't do that against the St. Augustine team. They actually need to complete drives every single time they get the ball, and they need to come away with points every single time they get the ball. But going against the St. Augustine team who has 37 sacks on the year, probably one of the best front 7 that Choctaw is going to be played all year, and a secondary that has 14 takeaways. That's going to be a very big task for this Choctaw Indians tonight, even though they are a 10-point favorite on the road. Josh Wilson from Florida High School Football gave us the lines, which I know earlier this week it was 3 points, and I thought that was doable, but a 10-point favorite on the road when the FHSA says there is no home field advantage, I think is crazy.
Well, if the FHSAA says it, then it must be true.
Yeah, it must be true. So, getting down to picks here for this game, Christopher, I see Choctaw winning this game. It can be a close one. It's not going to be a blowout, but I do think that I think we crossed the 60-point mark for both of these teams. I'm going to say Choctaw 35, St. Augustine 30.
I think if it goes that high, I think St. Augustine has won this football game. I think that they have a much. Yeah, I think that St. Augustine's offense is by far the superior scoring unit out there. And feel free to disagree with me in the comments, by the way. You can tell me I'm an idiot. Builds engagement. I don't care.
Yeah.
And I would just say that if Choctaw wins this football game, they're going to have to win it like 21-14. I think the defense can do a lot to help them out on that. I think the defense, the Bully Boys, are not to be trifled with. I think they've proven that all year. But if they gonna win this football game, that offense is gonna have to show up. And I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't know, man. 10 points, I think I'm not taking Choctaw with 10 points that they have to overcome on that line. That is not happening. So I would take St. Augustine on the betting world, but if it's a heads up game, I could be convinced to pick Choctaw. But I think the safe money is with St. Augustine.
Yeah, and the numbers sort of prove your case a little bit more. In the past 4 matchups with these, in the past 3 matchups with this team, St. Augustine does lead the way 2-1 in head-to-head matchups. I mean, it's a very strong possibility that Choctaw loses tonight. That's no question. I don't think anyone is saying that Choctaw's going to handle St. Augustine with ease. That is not one of these games. The other games we'll talk about, those could possibly be blowouts either way. But the thing is, my thing for Choctaw, if they want to win this game, that defense has to be healthy. I don't know if Alloway. I know Alloway was out the past couple weeks. I know he came back. Mario Alloway came back last week. I don't know if he's fully 100%. There were a couple other injuries on that Choctaw defense as well. But when that Choctaw defense is depleted, like they were the past couple weeks, it's a different Choctaw defense that we've seen all year. They weren't the world beaters, and Enterprise kind of proved that in week 11 of the regular season. So I'm still saying Choctaw wins. It's going to be close, and I guess history will be made either way with this game, with the dominance that we've seen in 4A Region 1 between these two teams. I got to say, what Frank Beasley has built over the past couple of years is not to be diminished in the slightest. There was a reason why he was in the running for the Emerald Coast Elite Coach of the Year. And I think this is, if you had to buy a ticket to any game of the 3 games that we're talking about today, it's this one for sure. Moving on, Christopher, we have one local team, I guess, that's still in the FHSAA playoffs. That is Pensacola Catholic. They are going on the road to Jacksonville to face a Bulls team who is playing lights out this year as well. We saw South Walton lose to Choctaw 34-7 last week, and I forgot to upload the video, so I apologize. You're looking at the bracket while we talk about it, but South Walton did strike quick. J.D. Brown, the first drive of the game, got a 30-yard touchdown pass to open the game up, put South Walton 7-0 ahead. But that front 7 from the Choctaw defense was just a little too much. J.D. Brown threw 3 interceptions. He was sacked 7 times by the Catholic defense, and Catholic was able to pull away 34-7. Jalen Brown, 6 for 12, 164, 2 touchdowns. Ethan Crandall, who was one of the best running backs in Northwest Florida the entire year, he went down earlier in the game with a calf injury. We do not know if he's going to be back against this Bulls team. Caleb Willoughby stepped up last week. He went 16 carries for 96 yards. This Catholic team is going on the road. They are a 8-point underdog to a Bulls team who just absolutely punched Florida State high in the mouth, and they punched Walton in the mouth too. I see Bulls winning this game quite handily. I don't think Pensacola Catholic can keep up offensively. I think losing Ethan Crandall, if he's out, that really hurts this Catholic offense. Defensively, I think they're okay, but I think there's just not enough to keep up with Bulls. So give me Bulls winning big against Pensacola.
Just to keep this one short, I'm with you on this one. I think 8 points is about right, though. I like Bulls in this game. I would probably take Bulls with those 8 points, but not much more than that. I do think that, even with Caleb Willoughby is the only tailback they have back there, and they have Jalen Brown, I think they're still a threat. But yeah, I don't like Catholic in this game. I like Bulls.
And then moving on to our final game of the week, which is actually in the Florida Invitational Tournament, which is not part of the FHSAA like playoff system. Tate, who is left out of the 6A bracket this year, even though they went 7-3, they now are 9-3, facing a Child's team who is in. And it's interesting that they actually put the 4A schools and the 7A schools together in this FIT tournament. So Tate is a 6A team, Child's is a 5A team. It's going to be at Tate. It's going to be at Pensacola, which is good for the Tate Aggies. They have a home game in the playoffs. Tanner Clark, who is one of the best running backs in the state of Florida, in Northwest Florida this year, he has taken over quarterback duties for the Tate Aggies. He went 8 for 13 for 44 yards. He also had 13 carries, 113 yards, and 1 score last week against Barnum Trail. They're playing a Child's team who finished 6-4. They lost to some pretty okay teams. They did lose to Florida State High. They lost to Lincoln. They lost to Dothan out of Alabama. And they also lost to Godby, who kept Niceville in check to only 17 points in their regular season.
Honestly, Colin, I think you need to put some respect on Childs' names. I think they lost to the okayest teams that we've seen so far this year.
Yeah.
They were okay. They were,
I mean, they were great. They're led by Gerald Clark, who has 192 carries this year. By the way, did you know that? 192 carries for 1,516 yards and 21 touchdowns. This Timberwolves defense has 15 sacks on the year. They have 11 interceptions with 5 fumble recoveries. Since it's the home team for Northwest Florida, and I've always loved the Tate Aggies ever since I played them in my Milton days. I got to say they have one of the best stadium atmospheres in Northwest Florida. If you've never gone to a Tate Aggie game, you should. They have a cannon, and it's pretty cool. Give me the Tate Aggies win big here over Childs. I know they're a 6-point favorite over Childs, but maybe I'm just saying if you have a mortgage, put it on the Tate Aggies tonight.
I agree. I think that this is not going to be a contest. I really do like Tate in this. Tate just missed the playoffs, just barely. It was like the one team that we thought didn't get in but should have. I think we're pretty miserly when it comes to our people that should have gotten to the playoff picks around here. And so, yeah, I like Tate in this.
All right. Now we're going to come back with the finish up our show, talk about some predictions about reclassifications. And we also got to talk about Pace High, which hurts me as a Milton grad. But we also have a special shout out before we go to commercial break, I guess. Hunter Brock and Heath Romiger, as you know, they are not here today. You're stuck with the Mid-Bay News boys today. But Hunter Brock of Final Approach Irrigation on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, had a baby boy. So congratulations to the Hunter Brock family. He's being, I think that's his first child.
Second child.
So at least he knows the routine. At least, you know.
So, I mean, I want to point out that Maggie had the baby, just so we're clear. I don't want her to get mad at me. Hunter was there. He was present. But yeah, we're happy to welcome little Grady, and I know Judd's excited to have a brother. So that's why he's not here. He's doing something important as well. He's keeping the deer population in check in southern Alabama. So our best wishes to the homies. We will hopefully see them next week if we have another show, if Choctaw wins this one.
So we'll be right back with more Final Approach Game Day after this word from our sponsor.
You know your lawn's looking a little bit janky. All those busted up sprinkler heads, dead patches. It's okay though. Final Approach Irrigation's got you. Their experienced and knowledgeable staff will quickly diagnose the problem and get right to work fixing it. Final Approach Irrigation is the best in the game, and they'll keep your lawn looking undefeated this fall. The refs won't be throwing any flags on them. They'll do you right every single time. Absolutely fair and transparent pricing, along with honest work ethic and integrity. Check them out over at finalapproachirrigation.com to get started today. Thanks again to our friends at Final Approach Irrigation for sponsoring this show and making sure you know everything there is to know about high school football here on the Emerald Coast this season.
And that is a word from our sponsor, Final Approach Irrigation. If for any needs that you have the irrigation system, it's best to do it now. As the weather's cold, you're not really cutting your grass as often, so that when it comes springtime again, you have grass that's green. You have the envy of all the yards in the neighborhood, and all the dads with the tube socks and the jorts will come to you and go, how is your yard looking that good? And you can always say, go to Final Approach Irrigation, and that's where you can get your yard needs taken care of. But we actually have something that I just brought Christopher in on a bit earlier in the show. As you know, Pace went on the road last week to Mandarin. Unfortunately, Pace did not move on, so we had one less Northwest Florida school. But before they actually went on their road trip to Mandarin, they actually had made an all call on social media, and they were basically asking for community donations, support for to make that trip to Mandarin. And Christopher, you have had heated takes on this topic before, so I kind of wanted to give you the floor, my friends, and talk to you about what you actually think about the FHSAA and their sort of draconian rules when it comes to high school football traveling in the playoffs.
Friends, Romans, countrymen, I come to you today with a heavy heart because we're doing all this traveling. We're spending $10,000, $15,000 a game. The school is through the boosters, through various groups of people. And we don't have to. That's the thing, guys. We don't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be like this, right? Instead of sending our kids to the ends of the earth to play a football game that may or may not matter, we could do something different. We could do what the FHSAA admittedly has started to do. And guys, it's beautiful, because here's the thing. If we just consolidated all these classifications that don't really matter anyway with open enrollment, we had big teams play little teams, allegedly, on both of those, we could save the taxpayer, that's right, the taxpayer, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because at the end of the day, even if you're donating to the football team or you're driving from here to Tallahassee just to go back to Tallahassee or Jacksonville next week, that's your money, right? That's money that you have to pay because some official said, hey, we're going to do it this way. So it's taxpayer money. Don't make any mistakes. You can say, oh, well, it doesn't go in tax coffers. It is taxpayer money, right? And this is not a judicious use of taxpayer money. So I'd argue that we could stop this, consolidate these classifications, and have all these teams play each other before we say, hey, Pace is going to go get blown out. Well, they didn't get blown out. Did they get blown out by Mandarin? It was not
Yeah,
close.
they did. It was 42-14.
So, yeah, guys, we need $20,000 so that our 80 kids plus the band can go get blown out in Jacksonville. Does that sound like a wise investment? I'd argue that it's not. What if we said instead, right, guys, we're going to send Pace down to Crestview and Niceville and Choctaw and Walton maybe, or I'm trying to think a couple of Pensacola schools, right? You got to beat all those schools, right? And then we can go to Jacksonville to play football. I think a lot more people would pay a lot more money to make that happen. Mm-hmm. Because it's special, right? It makes it special. It makes it unique. It makes it something that everybody's going to remember for the rest of their lives. Even if they just make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8, it'll be worth it. Everybody will want to pitch in. Businesses will pitch in. People will say, this is absolutely something we need to do. And so, guys, it's another loss for the American taxpayer. And that sucks. Just saying.
Yeah. Which leads me into this reclassification system that we keep talking. One of the things that we're going to follow throughout this entire offseason is reclassification. It is coming for 2026 and 2027. And Josh Wilson from FloridaHighSchoolFootball.com, he's a friend of the show. We may do another show next week, just bring him on and talk about the season as a whole. Big surprises. Absolutely. I think that's a good idea. But he put out an article this morning predicting what reclassification could like. And I am so sorry I'm not as well lit as Christopher. I'm on a Windows device outside, and he's on a Mac. So this is the perfect representation of the I'm a PC and I'm a Mac guy. But he went through the entire state of Florida and talked about redistricting. Now, this is not an official. This is just his prediction, but it is interesting to talk about since we have local teams, and they will also be shuffling around. And I don't know, Christopher, should we start with Niceville last, or should we start with Niceville first?
Let's make it last. Let's get some suspense in there for my local guys. Make them stick around for a minute.
So we start with the rule teams, which is going to be no change. Baker will still stay as a rule team, and in 1A there is no changes here. But we go to 2A, which is interesting because, as you know, as it stands right now, the 2A schools are South Walton, Freeport, Walton, and Pensacola Catholic. Now, one of these 4 teams will not be in, according to Josh Wilson, be in 2A next year, and one local team will replace this team in 2A, and that is going to be South Walton. They're, according to Josh Wilson, the Destin High Sharks will replace South Walton in District 1 2A as South Walton moves to District 1 3A to face these other 4 teams. You have West Florida, who will stay in 3A, Pine Forest, who actually drops down from 1 4A to 1 3A. You have Pensacola, who still has no change, and Bay, who still has no change. So in 1 3A, you have Pine Forest dropping down, and South Walton moving up. Is 1 3A now probably one of the best districts in Northwest Florida when it comes to football, or is 1 2A still interesting enough to where you have this up-and-coming team, Destin, you still have Freeport and Walton, and you still have Pensacola Catholic, who is a perennial favorite when it comes to playoff time?
I like 3A, and here's why. I think that it's getting closer to a more consolidated group, right? We're seeing, there's still some East and some West, and I don't love that, but it's interesting football, right? So Bay looked really good this year. West Florida looked good enough this year. South Walton looked excellent. I mean, if this was, British soccer, they'd be the guy that I would put South Walton to be, along with Pensacola Catholic, the team that's moving up to the next, league or whatever, right, to the Premier League. I thought both of them played well enough. I wish they would put Catholic in 3A. But the thing I like most about all of these district changes is that there are actually a decent number of teams in them. In my perfect world, there would be 7 or 9 teams in each district. I think that's probably the best place to make interesting football happen. Sure, every conference is going to have, I would say Vanderbilt, but Vanderbilt's pretty good this year. Mississippi or Mississippi State.
Yeah.
There's going to be a stinker in every single district every year, but there's one now, right? Like Gulf Breeze was awful this year. That was a deeply bad football team. And it doesn't, you're just going to get one stinker every year. It's just how it's going to be. But if you can have interesting football being played, I think it will matter long term. So I do like 1 3A. I think it'll be pretty good. I do wish that Freeport had moved up as well. I think Freeport is a city on the move, and so I would like to see that be represented by a larger classification, even if they didn't perform super well this year. And then Catholic, I'm starting to move towards where I think everybody that has said, private schools need to be in their own, FHSAA. I think that's starting to make more sense to me. They just seem to recruit better. I'm not completely sold on the idea, but I think it makes a lot of sense, and I see where the gripe is coming from.
And it is actually interesting because now moving on to District 1 4A, which includes the likes of Choctaw and Fort Walton Beach and Escambia and Booker T. Washington, who will stay in 1 4A. So there's no longer this 1 4A and 2 4A. You have 2 other teams joining them in District 1, and that's going to be Milton dropping down from a 5A school to now a 4A school, and Gulf Breeze dropping down from a 5A to a 4A. So now it's Choctaw, Fort Walton Beach, Booker T. Washington, Pine Forest, Milton, and Gulf Breeze.
I thought Pine Forest was 3A. I thought they moved down.
Sorry. I have my phone as my light, so I don't have my picture. And my internet is very slow, so I'm trying to load the article on my laptop.
Just do more. Do more, Colin.
Yeah, hold on. Let me take the light off my face so it looks awful. Booker T. Washington, Choctaw, Escambia, Fort Walton Beach, Gulf Breeze, and Milton. That is your District 1 4A. And I think is a perfect balance of Escambia, Okaloosa, and Walton schools playing each other, and then maybe they can get a better playoff bracket. Because I think looking at it, Milton and Choctaw are basically your favorites right now, right? It's not even a question. Like Fort Walton Beach hasn't shown me anything. Gulf Breeze has been a, for lack of a better term, a doormat this year. And for Escambia and Pine Forest, it seemed like no one wanted to win that district this year. So they're still bumbling around the 500, but easily at the top right now would be Milton and Choctaw as your favorites going into 2026.
Yeah, I agree with you. Milton, Choctaw more than Milton. I think Milton is graduating some pretty unique talent, but I think Ronnie Douglas will probably adjust to that. I think they're the most agile coaching staff that I've seen. Kind of making a 4-star Florida commit play quarterback for 9 games and having them win. Apparently, they just use whatever they got and they make it happen. So I do like Milton for that, but not for the personnel on the field, more for the coaching staff. And then I think Choctaw is dominant because the coaching staff is good and the personnel is also pretty good.
Yeah. And then moving on to the last one is District 1-5A. Remember, there is no 6A next year. 6A is now gone. All those 6A and 7A schools actually moved down. Oh, sorry. 7A is gone. They all moved down. It's just 6A through rural. And this is where it gets interesting because now you have Crestview in District 1-5A. You have Navarre in District 1-5A. Niceville, Pace, and Tate round out that district. Those are going to be the heavy hitters in terms of high population schools in this area. But honestly, you have, I think, 4 very good teams moving forward in 2026 with Crestview, Niceville, Pace, and Tate all battling for a top spot, which will make it, I think, probably the best district in Northwest Florida.
I agree. I think that's easily the best district. Tate looked really good. They're in this FIT and they're doing pretty well there as well. Crestview showed up at the back half of the year. Niceville showed up to almost take they took Ponte Vedra to the wire. I thought they did really well. So I like it. I think I think 5A is probably the best district in Northwest Florida this coming year. If this is, indeed what happens.
Which is also great because I think there's a lot more storylines in this district than a lot. Because I think we have to look to Pace, and we have the return of running back Mikael Williams. He's a junior, mind you. He will be back next year, and he will cause Niceville, Crestview problems going forward. Is how to stop Mikael Williams, who probably was one of the best running backs in Northwest Florida this year, especially with half of that offensive line returning next year. So that's going to be a huge problem for all of these teams. And I think so far this is a winner. The best part is there's not 4 teams. There's actually 5 games. So a Crestview, a Choctaw will actually have to play multiple games for a district title, which I think benefits everybody in getting the right teams into the playoffs. And we don't have to have a Arnold versus St. Augustine situation.
So sorry, man. I was tagging SMU football in all of Mikael Williams' highlights. But I agree with you. I think that having these 3-team districts go to the wayside is going to make this more exciting, right? It's going to be more fun to watch these games and kind of like look and see who's doing what, and makes our job more interesting, right? Because when you have a 3-team district, Bay was going to win this thing the whole time last year, right?
Yeah.
I can't even tell you who the 3rd team in that district was because it was Bay and West Florida and then somebody else, right? But they never had a chance, right? And West Florida was only going to get in if they got half the teams to win. There's the light. Look at
I just want to say, Emily Bester, the wife, what a legend. But the problem is, I texted her like 10 minutes ago.
She's our queen. She
was on a walk with the dogs. We'll forgive her.
Unbelievable. Anyway,
it's okay.
She's doing it big. But yeah, so I think that 5A easily the best, and the consolidation is better. Huh? What's the worst?
What's the worst? Yeah,
I think the biggest
1-2A is the worst. I think getting rid of the Walton County schools is kind of a bummer.
That's a bummer, right? But I think it's this sort of creative destruction that you have to embark on in order to make the whole system better.
Yeah.
So I hope that in 3 years we have. Look, if we're going to do this classification crap, let's make it rural 1A and 2A, and make it big school, little school, rural school. But even then, I think that you just can't tell me that Baker can't beat Gulf Breeze. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, I think in this day and age, the excuse people still use, and I saw it when Choctaw lost to Enterprise. Like, Enterprise is a 7A team. It doesn't really matter much anymore, because if we're talking about school population, I mean, of course, Enterprise is a bigger school than Choctaw is, because, I mean, I don't know if you've been to Enterprise, but there's not a lot of high schools around that area. Whereas in Okaloosa County, we have 5 of them, and we have open choice, so any of these students can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But Choctaw can punch up and punch down regardless. I think Baker can punch up and punch down. Catholic is a 2A school who recruits, and they can beat anyone in the state of
West
Florida.
of Jacksonville and north of Ocala.
Yeah. So the idea of the classifications, it's a 1A school or 2A school, a 7A school. I mean, look at this FIT tournament where we had 4A schools and 7A schools all competing with each other. And as it stands right now, there's no 7A schools left in the FIT tournament. It's 6A and 5A.
Tough look.
So this classification stuff is really, we need to get away from it. It's dead. It's over. It's like college football. Just because you have the NIL, the idea of one conference being better than the other, I think is crap now, because anyone can beat anyone. I mean, look at SMU. They got into the ACC for 2. This is their second year in the ACC, and they're knocking on the door of an ACC championship game for the second straight year in a row.
Darn tootin'. I mean,
and that infuriates me, because I'm a Virginia Tech guy, and we've been in the ACC since the 2000s.
I mean, so like Virginia Tech's a great example versus SMU. SMU has 4,500 undergraduates, right? Total. That's 1,000 kids in the class. It's not big. Virginia Tech has 40,000. So if we were to put them in classifications, the two would never meet, right? But SMU would blow the brakes off of Virginia Tech, because there's only 80 kids on a football team. It's not the whole student body versus the whole student body. So like, pretend that it is, especially with open enrollment, especially with NIL. I think it's ridiculous, and we should stop doing that. Yeah.
But Christopher, we've been gone 37 minutes. We've gone a lot longer than we thought we would on this show, where we only had 3 games to talk about. But anyone who's watching us, enjoy, I guess, this exciting round of playoff football. We hope we are back next week. So I guess in that case, we're all rooting for the Choctaw Indians and the Catholic Crusaders. I hope Bowles doesn't see it coming. I really do. I really hope.
Look, man,
you got to get a Crusades joke every single time that you talk about this team.
Well, God wills it. God wills it, my friend. It's really important that we remember that, Pope Pius VI, said, like, God, Dave's fault, my guy. And so here we are watching Catholic just absolutely going to take it to the Bulls Bulldogs, and then they're going to go south and play somebody else. I don't know who's a 2A powerhouse. Chaminade Madonna, they're 1A, but it'll be an all Catholic.
Anybody, because they're so good.
Yeah, because there's 200 kids at the school, and 80 of them are on the football team, and they're all recruited. So
yeah, but. For another edition of Final Approach to Game Day has come to a close. For our coverage of the Choctaw game, we'll be doing graphics every quarter that the game ends. If you want to listen to the game live, you can listen to 94.3 FM. Our friends Gareth Stearns have made the trip. Mind you, shout out to him. He did it after. So he had Thanksgiving dinner and then decided to make the 5-hour drive, which, brother, I don't know. After I ate, I wanted to take a nap. You know what I mean?
Look, you got to have love for the game. And my man, Mr. Stearns, he has displayed love for the game. All right. Mm-hmm. So I got nothing but love in my heart for that kind of commitment.
And if you want to if you want to cover Pensacola Catholic, they're on Fox Sports Pensacola, whatever.
Live your life, boo. Live your life. I mean, look, I get it. Well, I don't know, man. Get us out of here.
All right. So, but for Christopher Saul of Midday News, I'm Colin Bester at Midday News. Hope you enjoyed Final Approach to Game Day, and we hope to see you